Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of ONIT's Tuesday College Basketball Show. We're going over everything that happened over the weekend. We'll take a look at what's ahead. Not a lot of time left in February, so let's get into it. Before we start, make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you haven't already by hitting that subscribe button down below. You can also ring the bell to get notifications for when we post a video, as right now we're posting Tuesday and Friday college basketball shows. If you like the content, make sure to give us a like and subscribe so you see more of us in your feed. And if you stick around to the end of today's video, we'll let you know how you can get involved in one of our future shows if you're opening some ONIT packs as our winter releases continue to roll out here and we start to move towards spring sports as well, which will be coming up very shortly with baseball and softball underway. We'll talk about them later, but make sure you stick around to the end if you want to be involved here with us on YouTube. We'll start off, as always, by taking a look at what's in our Tuesday box.
What's in the box?
Our Tuesday ONIT College Basketball box features the locally sourced but nationally relevant headlines for each of our ONIT teams, as we have teams continuing to move up and down the rankings. We'll take a look at how they're doing. We'll also talk about our two best performers of the weekend. We had a couple of studly performances that we'll be looking at here in making the grade. And lastly, we'll give you our top 10, the players to watch, 5 men and 5 women who you should be keeping your eye on here, as we once again are coming to the end of the regular season in just a matter of weeks. We'll start off by seeing who had the best performance this weekend in making the grade. It's once again time for making the grade, as we had a huge heap of great performances this weekend. We're looking at the two best, one men's and one women's performance here that will earn our Gem Mint 10s. And we'll start on the men's side, taking a look at the UConn Huskies in their win over Georgetown, 79-75. And Silas DeMary Jr. was an unbelievable player in this game for UConn. 15 points on 3 of 6 shooting, went 9 of 10 at the free throw line. He was continuously finding ways to get fouled and get to the line. He pulled down 12 rebounds as a guard, and he was 1 assist shy of a triple-double as he posted up 9 assists and a slash line of 15, 12, and 9 for Silas DeMary Jr. in this game. The Huskies narrowly avoided a home upset at the hands of the Hoyas, who were sub 500 in the Big East, and DeMary's performance was a big reason why. 34 minutes to get 15 points, 12 boards, and 9 assists. He was really going crazy out there. Came so close to that elusive triple-double, but a great performance nonetheless. And for that reason, Silas DeMary Jr. has to be our Gem Mint 10 performer this weekend on the men's side. As we flip over and look at the women's performer of the weekend, it is coming to us from Penn State, and she's a repeat winner here in the 81-71 win for Penn State. It was once again Kaiomi McMiller, who had an outstanding game, posting her 4th straight game with 30 or more points. In this game against Northwestern in the win, she scored 32 on 11 of 21 shooting, 9 of 11 from the free throw line. She also had 4 assists and got 6 steals. She was just an absolute menace for Penn State, and the Wildcats had no way of slowing her down. She was scoring, she was rebounding, she was wreaking havoc defensively, and for that reason, she is our Gem Mint 10 performer on the women's side, with an amazing scoring performance to cap off the win for Penn State as they earned just their 2nd conference victory this season. Those are my 2 picks for our best performances of the weekend. Let me know down below if you agree or disagree with my players and the reasoning, and who you think should have won the Gem Mint 10s this week. Now we'll take a look at our men's games coming up. We got a couple of ONIT versus ONIT matchups that we're keeping our eye on. Lot of good games on the men's side this week. Let's talk about them. Starting off with our ONIT game of the week, featuring the new #1 team in the country, as Michigan has surpassed Arizona thanks to the 2 losses that the Wildcats suffered last week. Michigan is now the top dog in men's college basketball, and their first test after picking up the number 1 seed is to go on the road to number 7 Purdue, a Boilermaker team that was outside of the top 10 last week and is now number 7 in the rankings. Michigan's 24-1, coming off their win 86-56 against UCLA on Saturday. Purdue, on the other hand, coming off a win at Iowa 78-57 as these two teams clashed for the first time in Big Ten play this season. Purdue is 2.5 games back of Michigan. A win over the Wolverines would be huge for Purdue if they are going to win the Big Ten regular season crown. They will have to go through Michigan because losing this game would put them back into a place where that title is most likely unreachable. Should be a really fun one between some of these star players: Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith, Yaxel Lendenberg, Ademara. Lots of great talent is going to be on the floor in this game. It's happening tonight, so make sure you're dialed in. This is the game of the week for us once again. The Big Ten continues to provide on the basketball court. Number 1 Michigan, number 7 Purdue tonight. That is our ONIT game of the week. We've got some other ONIT teams in the rankings as well, including number 5 UConn, who moved up a spot. They're 24-2 with a win over Georgetown, 79-75. They needed that win if they want to win the Big East because St. John's is breathing down their neck. The rematch is coming, but they have a game against Creighton first. On the 18th, UConn will be taking on Creighton at home. Another nice, relaxing time for them, hopefully, in the Big East. These games have been a little bit tricky for UConn recently, but Creighton is not a team that has made a ton of splashes this season. So UConn hoping to win this game, survive, and advance, and get ready for that rematch against St. John's that will most likely decide the Big East Conference. Then we have number 11 Gonzaga, a win at Santa Clara, 94-86, sees them go up 1 spot in this week's AP poll. They're up to number 11 at 25-2. They'll be on the road again, this time at San Francisco on the 18th. So another team that has notoriously played Gonzaga really, really hard in this WCC conference. It's Gonzaga's last year in the WCC, and they want to go out as champions. So getting through the Dons in San Francisco is a must-do here for Gonzaga during the week. Then Ohio State, 16-9. They had a chance against number 15 Virginia. Would have been a real bubble-cementing win for Ohio State, but they came up 4 points short in the 70-66 loss at home in Columbus. They'll get back to Big Ten play tonight against Wisconsin. Really could have used that victory against Virginia to solidify themselves as a team that deserved to be in the NCAA tournament. Right now, they're going to have to do as much as they can in the Big Ten. And a Wisconsin team that's been getting a lot of ranked wins and beating up on some of these powerhouses in the conference could be a good win for Ohio State if they can take down the Badgers. So definitely one to keep your eye on. And then lastly in the Big Ten, we have UCLA at 17-8, at least lastly for now. They lost to Michigan. We mentioned it, 86-56. And it doesn't get any easier for them because they are going to take on Michigan State. And yes, Michigan State still very much in the rankings here after another solid week. They're down to 15th after dropping 5 spots, but the Spartans will be a tough test once again for UCLA. And after they thought maybe they had a chance to get a resume-boosting win against Michigan, if they go 0-2 on this Michigan trip, UCLA can more than likely wipe away any chance that they have of making it to the NCAA tournament. Then we have number 9, Nebraska, 22-3 on the year, coming off a pretty easy win against Northwestern, 68-49. They were able to take down Northwestern at home in Lincoln, but now they'll be on the road tonight at Iowa, another team that shouldn't pose too much of a challenge for the Cornhuskers as they look to stay inside the top 10 this week. They've made it through the difficult part of their schedule, and now it should be pretty easy coasting for Nebraska until they get to the tournament. So just trying to win out these last couple of games, and if they do that, should set themselves up nicely to go to the Big Ten tournament and potentially win that and be the AQ for the conference. So keep your eye on Nebraska as we get into our timeless only teams here, beginning with our ranked timeless team, which is Arkansas. They are number 20, moving up one spot at 19-6 on the year. They beat Auburn 88-75 pretty easily, and they will go on the road to Alabama. Alabama is back in the polls at number 25. If Arkansas can win this game, they'll probably knock Alabama right back out of the top 25, and it's another game that Arkansas must win if they do want to keep pace in this SEC conference. It looks like on both the men's and women's side, the SEC regular season champion is going to be decided on the last game of the year. So Arkansas just trying to keep pace with everybody else in the SEC, and if they can do that with these Floridas, with Florida, with Texas is kind of in the mix, Arkansas is in the mix. A lot of teams that could potentially win that conference, and Arkansas has to beat Alabama if they want to do so. Then we have Auburn coming off that loss against Arkansas. They are back on the 18th at Mississippi State as they stay on the road. 14-11 on the year for Auburn. Again, been an up and down season for them. Weren't expected to beat Arkansas and weren't able to do it. Mississippi State, though, is a team they should be able to handle, and if they can get that done, get to 15-11 would be pretty solid for them. Penn State was out on the road at Oregon on Valentine's Day, 83-72. They lost, falling to 11-15 on the year. They'll come back home, take on Rutgers on the 18th. For Penn State, just trying to stack some Big Ten Conference wins. That's really what it's all about at this point in the season after falling to Oregon. So trying to get back to their winning ways against Rutgers next time out for Penn State. Then we have Texas, who is quietly approaching bubble territory, 16-9, another win at Missouri, 85-68. They haven't played the SEC's best recently, but they are piling wins together, and they have another chance to do that tonight at home against LSU. More wins for Texas, more conference wins. It keeps them in the race. If they can find a way to win the regular season championship, that certainly would be something, but it also keeps them alive when it comes to bubble talk. They could sneak in as maybe a 11, 12 seed. Who knows? But Texas definitely has a chance here if they could win out over the course of the regular season. So getting it done at home in Austin against LSU, very important for the Longhorns at 16-9. Further on in Texas, Texas A&M 17-8 down in College Station. Was on the road at number 19 Vanderbilt, fell 82-69, and with that loss, Texas A&M's SEC hopes and dreams have probably fallen completely apart. They're in the middle of a 4-game losing skid in the conference, and it's just been very tough for the Aggies as of late. A home game against Ole Miss on the 18th might be enough to turn it around for Texas A&M, but they definitely need to get back in the win column here as their season and their tournament hopes are slowly sliding away with every loss. And lastly, out of the Big 12, we have West Virginia, 16-9, another win for them, 74-67. They beat UCF on the road in Orlando. Like I said in last week's video on Friday, the Mountaineers have pretty much beaten everybody that they're supposed to beat. They handled their business against UCF, and now they'll be at home against Utah, who's making a long journey practically across the country to come play West Virginia. So they will get Utah at home. Again, another winnable game for the Mountaineers. If they can keep stacking these wins, they might find themselves on the bubble or potentially in the NCAA tournament when Selection Sunday rolls around. But that is all of our teams this week and what they are up to. Let's flip on over and take a look at what our women are doing. And on the women's side, taking a look at our games that are coming up this week, we'll start with the number 1 UConn Huskies, still undefeated after taking down Marquette on the road, 71-56. They'll stay out on the road, this time going to Villanova tomorrow as the Huskies look to continue their perfect season, remain unbeaten in the Big East Conference, and potentially run the table this year again. So we'll see if UConn can make that happen. Meanwhile, number 2 UCLA just won easily against Indiana at home, 92-48. They will stay in Los Angeles, and they will welcome in the Washington Huskies, who just fell out of the rankings after losing last week. So this is now an unranked Big Ten matchup for UCLA, but it should be a team that they don't have any problems with here at home, as UCLA has been blowing out most of these Big Ten teams that they have matched up against. Then number 3, South Carolina, fresh off their win at number 6, LSU, 79-72. Big win for South Carolina. Lots of different players stepped up to give the Gamecocks that win. They've got another tall task ahead of them. This time they'll be on the road at number 25, Alabama, who is into the polls. It's another ranked game for South Carolina. It seems like every game is a ranked game for South Carolina here to close out the season, but they'll try to get through Alabama. They'll have a lot of confidence after beating LSU, and they're hoping to continue this winning streak to wrap up the SEC regular season crown. Then we have number 6, Michigan at 22-4. This time a much easier victory for them over their rival Michigan State. They were at home against number 13 Michigan State, and it was an 86-65 victory for the Wolverines. Easy business for them as they take care of the Spartans and earn that season sweep. And now they'll be on the road at number 13, Iowa. Another tough game for them as Iowa has moved up in the polls this week after their win over another one of our ONIT teams that we'll get to a little bit later. But a great matchup between Michigan and Iowa. That's coming up on the 22nd, so a bit of rest time there for Michigan before they get back to it. Then we have number 10, Ohio State, 22-4, lost to Maryland, 76-75, as the Terrapins were able to come back and defeat Ohio State at home in Columbus. So the Buckeyes are looking to bounce back. They've got a Minnesota squad who has just entered the rankings for the first time. Minnesota is up to number 23 in the country, and the Buckeyes will be on the road at Minnesota. They have won a bunch of games in a row. I think it's 8 in a row now for Minnesota on this winning streak to get them ranked. And they just continue to dismantle the teams that are put in front of them. But Ohio State is going to be one of the toughest teams that they've played this year. So we'll see how this matchup shakes out between Minnesota and Ohio State. This game is also on the 18th, so coming up tomorrow for us. Then number 21, Tennessee, lost in heartbreaking fashion against Texas. Was hoping that they were going to steal an SEC win and take down number 4 Texas, but instead they lose 65-63, and now they go on the road to number 17 Ole Miss. Back-to-back ranked games for Tennessee. As you can see, that's a theme here on the women's side for us this week. So number 21 Tennessee at number 17 Ole Miss. That game is tonight. Great women's game to watch this evening that you can tune into. Maybe split screen between that Michigan-Purdue matchup and the Tennessee Ole Miss game. Should be a really good one. Looking forward to that game here tonight as we move on and take a look at our timeless only squads here. Again, these are teams that are only available if you go onto the website, onitathlete.com, and you can get these teams through either a monthly or a yearly subscription. It's a timeless subscription where you get sent cards. Could be men's basketball, women's basketball, gymnastics, football. You can get all sorts of different sports in Timeless. So check them out on the website, onitathlete.com. We've got a matchup between our Timeless schools here as number 4 Texas will be on the road taking on Arkansas on the 19th. Number 4 Texas at Arkansas. Texas just won that game against Tennessee that we mentioned. They did it despite not making a 3-point field goal. And now they will go in and take on an Arkansas team that has not won a game in the SEC so far this year. For Arkansas, they just lost against Mississippi State 75-66 last night. Now they get this Texas team that's one of the best in the country. It is going to be a very tall task if Arkansas is going to get their first SEC win against Texas. They are at home, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to help them get through the mighty Longhorns. So that is an ONIT versus ONIT matchup coming up here on the 19th. It's the only one that we have during the week this week, so make sure you're tuned into that game on Thursday. Taking a look at the next 2 schools, we've got Auburn, another timeless only squad. Just lost at Texas A&M, 81-63, down to 500 on the season at 13-13, as Texas A&M got the better of Auburn in that ONIT matchup. Next time out for Auburn, they will be on the road at Missouri on the 19th, so another Thursday contest there for Auburn as they try to get back over 500. Then we have Nebraska, who is not a timeless only team, but they do come in a value box variety, or a mixed sport variety rather, so you can get Nebraska men's and women's basketball together. All of the winter sports are together for them. They're coming off the loss against number 15 Iowa, 80-67. Again, this tailspin for Nebraska just continues. They can't get out of this losing streak after going into the last month and a half where they were ranked in the polls. They have fallen out of the polls and have not been able to get a win since. They're now 16-10. Next chance for them is on Thursday at Oregon, trying to get back to their winning ways. This is probably the best chance that they've had during this really difficult stretch of schedule. So we'll see if the Cornhuskers are able to pull out a victory on the road at Oregon on Thursday. Then we are back to our timeless only squads with Penn State. Won against Northwestern, 81-71. We talked about Kaomi McMiller in making the grade. What a phenomenal player she has been, really helping Penn State get some of these Big Ten victories under their belt. And they'll try to get another one on the 21st at Rutgers. So some time to rest for Penn State here as they get the little mini bye before going into action this weekend on the road in New Jersey. Then our last timeless only school, Texas A&M, got that win against Auburn, 81-63. And they will be at number 21 Tennessee on the 19th. So that'll be an ONIT versus ONIT matchup, but Tennessee has to play Ole Miss 2 days before that. Tennessee's got a really brutal schedule, playing Texas on the 15th, at Ole Miss on the 17th, and then home against Texas A&M on the 19th. 3 games in the span of 6 days. Pretty tough stuff there for Tennessee. We'll see if all of that playing makes Tennessee vulnerable in this game against Texas A&M on Thursday night, but it's definitely very interesting for A&M that they're going to get a battered and tired Tennessee team at home in Knoxville. So if Texas A&M can go in and pull the upset, you got to think that part of that reason is going to be because Tennessee played back-to-back ranked games in a 4-day stretch, and now they're playing their third in 6. So we'll see how that game goes on Thursday night on the 19th. And our last team here is USC. They had some time off after beating Indiana 79-73. That game happened back on the 12th. They're back in action on Thursday night at home in Los Angeles against Wisconsin. So they have 7 days of rest before getting the Badgers at home. They should be well rested for that game. Should be able to pull it out, and if they do, be up to 17-9 on the year, and the bubble hopes may still be on the table for them. A lot of questions about USC. Everyone's been asking them. Winning out the rest of their Big Ten Conference schedule would definitely do wonders for what the committee might think of them when we get to Selection Sunday. Those are all of our women's teams in action this week. Should be a bunch of good games. Let's talk about the players who are going to have impacts in these games. Here are our players to watch. 10 players, 5 men, 5 women. We got a lot of good games this week, a lot of ranked teams playing other ranked teams. So here is the list who we think you should be looking out for. We'll start off with Axel Lendenborg, leading his Michigan squad to a victory over UCLA last time out. Now, as the number 1 team in the country, there's a huge target on Michigan's back, and Purdue is going to be gunning for them in this game. Lendenborg has been the team leader all year, and don't expect anything different from him in this game. He is as steady as they come, and I think Michigan goes as he goes. So as long as he stays steady, keeps Michigan in this game, the Wolverines should be able to protect their number 1 ranking, but he is going to be a very important piece of that. Then Tessa Johnson from South Carolina just had a great game with 21 points in the win against LSU. She's really important to what South Carolina does as they continue to try and hold that lead at the top of the SEC. Next time out, Tessa Johnson is going to play a big part for South Carolina like she did in the win over LSU as they try to wrap up that regular season crown. Then we have Braden Smith for Purdue going into that game against Michigan. These two squads haven't matched up this season. Smith has played well against nearly every opponent that's been put in front of him this season. I don't expect much different against Michigan here. Even though Michigan is the number 1 team in the country, they've been so dominant pretty much all year long. Braden Smith is just one of those players that can really take over a game no matter what type of defense is against him, whether it's through scoring or through passing, or even just through ball handling and creating open lanes for his teammate by driving to the lane and not taking the shot potentially, and then his teammate makes the pass for the assist. There's lots of ways that Braden Smith can hurt you is what I'm trying to say, and I think he can find some ways to be very effective against Michigan. Really looking forward to that game. Speaking of Michigan, we've got Olivia Olson here up next for Michigan. She just did something that nobody has done since Caitlin Clark, which is scored 20 points and grab at least 5 rebounds in 5 straight games. Olson has done that in 5 straight now. Now, again, nobody has done that in the Big Ten since Caitlin Clark was there. As many of you remember, Caitlin Clark's a pretty good basketball player. And so Olivia Olson to be following in her footsteps, definitely think that you should keep your eyes on her. Then we have Darius Acuff from Arkansas. He's coming off a career-high 31-point outing, or tied his career high with the 31 points. As Arkansas continues to go up against tough teams in the SEC, Acuff is the guy that is leading them. They've got Alabama, number 20 versus number 25 in the country. Should be a great game. Should expect a lot from Darius Acuff Jr. here, so that's why I'm keeping my eyes on him. Talasia Cooper for Tennessee just poured in 29 points in the loss against Texas, did everything she could for Tennessee, scored nearly half of her team's points in that game. Just a phenomenal player, and Tennessee is going into another difficult ranked matchup. I think Talasia Cooper is going to be the one that will be able to get them over the hump if they are going to get a ranked victory against Ole Miss. Then we have Sky Clark for UCLA. UCLA needs a win against Michigan State in a bad way. If they're going to do that, I think Sky Clark is going to be important. One of the best three-point shooters on that UCLA team. I think UCLA is going to need to rain down some threes against a very tough Michigan State defense if they want to keep the pace. So Sky Clark is going to be a guy who will be make or break for UCLA here coming up. Then for the Arkansas women, looking at Emily Robinson. Arkansas is trying to get a conference victory in the SEC. Robinson is the leading assister. She pours in a decent amount of points as well, and is just one of those players that where the offense runs through her, Arkansas seems to be at their best. So if Robinson can get Arkansas and the rest of her team firing on all cylinders with the ball in her hand, making the right passes, deciding when to shoot herself or take it to the basket herself, I think that she might be able to get Arkansas their first SEC win. So Emily Robinson is definitely a name to watch when you're watching the Arkansas women this week. Then Graham Ike for Gonzaga just has been a phenomenal player all year for Gonzaga. There's not much that needs to be said about what he has done for that team to keep them as steady as they are inside the top 15. But Ike at San Francisco trying to put a stamp on Gonzaga winning the WCC in the regular season. If they can get through San Francisco, it should be smooth sailing for the Zags the rest of the way. So Graham Ike, I think, could take over that game, and I've got my eye on him. And then lastly, Madison Booker basically iced the game for Texas as they held on against Tennessee. Texas continues to play in very tough games in the SEC. They're trying to stay afloat at the top and chase down South Carolina. And Madison Booker is basically the leading reason why Texas is number 4 in the country and why they have a chance to run down South Carolina here as the season comes to a close. Phenomenal player, one of the best scorers and rebounders on her team. She really puts it all together, and she's really calm and collected at the free throw line, which came in clutch against the Lady Volunteers in that win for number 4 Texas. So Madison Booker is the last player that I think you should keep your eye on this week. And that's all the time that we have for today's show. Bunch of fun games, a lot of ranked matchups, and as we get closer and closer to conference tournaments and the NCAA tournament, these players will only shine through even more. Can't wait to see who has some big performances over the course of the week when we come back to you on Friday. If you're ripping any ONIT packs in between our videos, let us know. Share your clips with us down at the link below. You can share photos, videos of some great polls. We'd love to share some winter sports polls, men's basketball, women's basketball, even gymnastics cards if you're opening any of the mixed sport packs or in your timeless subscriptions. So drop them at the link that's in the description or that was down below earlier, and we will get those shared up here on YouTube. Appreciate everybody watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And we will see you back here on Friday with more college basketball coverage as we inch closer to the end of the regular season.